This is a skateboard. 4 wheels, 2 trucks, and a deck. Despite its simple design, the skateboard in its modern iteration is quite a refined machine. Polyurethane wheels on handcrafted wood decks are a far cry from what people originally called skateboards. Skateboarding in its culture has a crazy history, with lots of twists, turns, highs, and lows. So let's take a look back, see how we got here. From 2x4s to twin-tip boards, from sunny California streets to Olympic competition with all-star athletes. Let's look at the history of the skateboard. In 1950s California, surfing was all the craze. Unfortunately, surfers couldn't participate in this fun activity all the time. Surfers were at the mercy of the waves, but sometimes the waves had their own plans. Surfers wanted another way to keep themselves occupied, so they invented one. By taking the steel wheels off roller skates and nailing them to 2x4s, surfers could surf on the sidewalk. With this, the first skateboards were born. At the time, it was dubbed sidewalk surfing. Over the course of the decade, sidewalk surfing would grow in popularity, and the first commercial skateboards would come onto the market in 1959. As the 50s gave way to the 60s, many companies would give their take on skateboards, accompanied by some hilariously stereotypical advertisements for the era. In the first half of the 1960s, skateboarding exploded. Magazines, films, and even music pushed the scales of skateboards into the millions. Skateboarding culture advanced from the sunny California beaches to be all over America. And the skateboard evolved as well. The clunky steel wheels of roller skates were replaced by specialized clay wheels. These softer wheels were far more versatile and opened up a variety of new surfaces to skate. This wave of popularity culminated with the 1965 National Skateboarding Championships, landing its live primetime spot on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
And so this is the event that everybody's been waiting for. It'll be the last event in the overall championship, so let's get to it.
However, skateboarding's fame wouldn't last long. By the second half of the decade, the new activity's popularity had decreased drastically. Many saw it as nothing more than a passing trend, one that had run its course, and everyone had moved on. Well, almost everyone. As skateboarding entered the 70s, two of the biggest innovations in the sport would occur. 1969 saw the emergence of the kicktail, and the following year, the invention of the polyurethane wheel. The invention of the polyurethane wheel was huge. It meant skateboards could be ridden harder, faster, and on even more surfaces than ever before. These innovations skyrocketed skateboarding back into the spotlight. 1975, the Del Mar National Championships, a 2-day skateboarding event held in San Diego. It was here that the world would be introduced to a local team from LA, the Zephyr team, better known as the Z-Boys. As soon as they got there, everyone knew they were different. The Z-Boys were disorderly, unconventional, and just so new. They took every convention the 60s had established for skateboarding and shattered them. Their style wasn't based on the traditional flat ground of street, but on the steep walls of the pool. They took the vertical style of the previous decade and took it into the ground. The Z-Boys and their style were so different, the judges didn't even know how to score it. In the middle half of the 70s, California was going through a massive drought. Many places had dried up. Skaters took advantage of this. They started skating all sorts of spots once too wet to skate. Ditches, reservoirs, and most importantly, pools. This is where the Z-Boys got their wings. In these pools, skaters pushed their boards and their skills. Faster, higher, higher, and faster. Then eventually, right at the top, vert skating is born. In 1981, two of the co-founders of the independent truck company started a skateboarding magazine to promote their business. Thrasher published its first edition in January of that year. Thrasher was loud, edgy, and filled with the same underground punk attitude as the Z-Boys. Over the years, Thrasher has grown into becoming one of the definitive skateboarding magazines, with segments such as Skater of the Year and the Hall of Meat becoming iconic in skateboarding culture. One of the biggest skateboarding companies of the time was Powell Peralta. Their team, the Bones Brigade, consisted of some of the most legendary skaters in history. People like Stacy Peralta, Alan Gelfand, better known as Ollie, Mike McGill, Tony Hawk, and Rodney Mullen. In 1976, Ollie developed the trick that bears his name, a freehand technique for getting more air out of a pool. However, it wouldn't be until 1982 that Rodney Mullen would adapt the trick to work on flat ground. By kicking the tail of the board down with one foot and scooping up the front of the board with the other, Mullen was able to lift the board into the air, taking the ollie and the sport as a whole to a new level. Skaters can now jump over obstacles, onto rails, and off of just about anything they could climb. The ollie transformed the way people skate, and has become a fundamental trick for all aspects of skateboarding, and the first move most skaters learn. But Rodney Mullen didn't stop at the ollie. He went on to invent the kickflip, the heel flip, the 360 flip, and many others. This would earn him the title of the Godfather of street skateboarding. 2 years later, the Bones Brigade would make a video to show off their skills. Produced by Stacey Krelta and Craig Stesick, the Bones Brigade video show was released on VHS in 1984. It was expected to sell around 300 copies. It sold 30,000. The following year saw skate videos explode in popularity. 1988 saw H Street release Shackle Me Not. 2 years later, Blind Skateboards would release Video Days. 1982 saw Plan B's Questionable. In 1983 saw the first issue of the legendary 411 VM make its way on store shelves. Other notable videos to mention include 1996 Girl Skateboard's Mouse and Toy Machine's Welcome to Hell, also in 1996. Skateboards also made their way into cinema. 1986 saw the release of Thrashin' with some hilariously 80s posters. And in 1985, a young man named Marty McFly rode around on his trusty skateboard in Back to the Future. Tony Hawk once stated, "There are plenty of legendary pros that I know started skating because they saw that film." On June 24th, in 1995, Newport, Rhode Island, the Extreme Games, better known as the X Games, were being held for the first time. Over 100,000 spectators came to watch events like bungee jumping, biking, inline skating, sky surfing, and skateboarding. This was also all broadcast live on ESPN. The following year, attendance hit 200,000, and by 1997, the Summer and Winter X Games were broadcast internationally on ABC. These events were the birthplace of some of the most impressive and insane tricks skateboarding has ever seen. Most famously, Tony Hawk landed the first ever competition 900 at X Games 5 in June of 1999.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, look at this! Tony Hawk, everybody!
It's a new millennia, and with it comes new technology. The meteoric rise of the internet changed a lot for skateboarding and its culture. Peer-to-peer file sharing services like LimeWire meant people no longer had to pay to watch skate videos. But due to reasons, LimeWire wouldn't last long. Skateboarding would find its new home on places like YouTube. Magazines like Thrasher began posting their videos to the platform, garnering millions of views in the process. Archives of 411 VM and other classic skate videos filled out the back catalog. All joined by a sea of newcomers, as now anyone with a camera and a bit of free time could make high-quality skate videos and find an audience, leading to a new wave of skaters watching, learning from, and making skate videos for others to enjoy. Skateboarding has also made its way into video games. The first game in the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series would be released in 1999, and a new Tony Hawk game would be released every single year through the next decade. And toward the end of the 2000s, it was joined by another classic skate series, EA's Skate. The original Skate released in 2007. Its sequel, Skate 2, released 2 years later in 2009. And finally, Skate 3 would release in 2010. The Skate trilogy was monumental in introducing a whole new generation to skateboarding, and still retain a cult following to this day. It's actually how I first got into skateboarding, and look at me now. And in 2021, skateboarding made its debut at the Tokyo Olympics. Not bad for some bored California surfers.